The hip-hop writer is a creator, composing understanding words of cultured brilliance, power, and rebalance of the elements equally. Pages of rejuvenated reaffirmation. Simply the almighty leadership of insightful craft work that stands to build through any confrontation born to be. Yet his daily duty is as a journalist that questions properly and uses his ears to filter the real. And as the art decays by dilution, he concentrates the best again and again, exposing it in the print. Today's journalist and tomorrow's historian he listens to share. Here is that necessary attempt executed again and again and again. This is the Power Right Show on S.STREET Media. This is your brother, the lone low life with the home-sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, the true living God, stepping in scores, Sunya Zala, a.k.a. Skillustrator. And we're on S.STREET Media, the evolution of media, where every intrigue will have its own show, every incredible thought will have its own episode, and every timeless insight will be archived. And as I always say, this show is about my element of hip-hop, what I like to call the writer of art on art and science on music. The only show in history on this hip-hop writer element that I, a veteran of over a quarter century, helped pioneer. That was a lot of shit I said. Always salute to Kevlar7, Remembered Imperfection, my brother Kevlar7. That's him on the intro beat. I Call My Brother Son was the name of that track. He gave it to me years ago for when I would think about doing a show. And I always like to pay homage to him. And I'm thinking about him even more because Bronze Nazareth, his brother, right? My other brother from another. His debut album, The Great Migration, actually turned 15 years old. You know what I mean? And that's a seminal record. It's a seminal record for me in my career. You know what I mean? For many reasons, though. You know what I mean? Because it got me back into writing. It was something I was listening to that got me inspired again when I left all the major magazines. And that was in 2006. I had ditched all the major magazines. You know, because we get the big three, Double XL, Vibe, Source, and you get to say fuck them all. You ain't got nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying? You got nowhere to go, you know what I mean? But, yeah, that was a seminal album. You know, doesn't mean it was the only one, but there's certain albums that make you feel like, you know, maybe people could still make great music, though. You know what I mean? Because, as I say, the 2000s were the dark ages for many reasons. You know what I mean? I think we have more proofs today with today's guest. So many great artists that had to strive, had to struggle, never got to develop into their best self. You hear it all the time, though, not just with the artists that I build with, whether it's tech, whether it's steel, you know, but also the greats of this era that come out of those dark ages, with Bronze. We could count Sky Zoo because his albums really start to hit off in the middle, the latter end of the 2000s. And then also MCs that dominate this era, you know, that I call the Invisible Renaissance, you know, and that's a whole bunch of people, whether they be Spit Gems, whether they be Rome Streets, right? There's a whole bunch of people, you know what I mean, including my guest today, you know what I mean? And before that, though, it's time to pony up some money, you know, for the congregation, pass the digital bin around. And I got 2 books out. I got The Reel of 2020. This is an ebook that really details, you know, an entire analysis of all the musicians and artists of this era. You know what I mean? And I bracket it in such a system where it's not just my favorite artist, my favorite works of a certain era. It's basically the best stuff of the entire year. So basically, it's giving you brackets of a new system of ciphers that categorizes everything. You know what I mean? So certain people overlap, certain people go in certain groups together. Some people only belong in one group, if I had to categorize in my own thoughts. But the truth is that it includes everything that's going on, not just what I think is the best, not what's my favorite, but everything going on, though. But then there's also the Filtered Reel, Essays from the Invisible Renaissance, is out on paperback. And also ebook as well. And this details the first 10 years of what I call this Invisible Renaissance, from 2010 all the way to 2020, though. You know, it's funny when you see on Twitter, people are like, yo, I think this is a fucking renaissance, this era, though. Nigga, you bit, you know what I mean? Like,
late.
You're fucking late to the game, because it was 2012, though. I always tell Spit Gems, it was 2012.
Yeah.
I was talking to Napoleon the Legend, and I was telling him, though, yeah, you know, I only came back into this shit to show everybody I'm the fucking best. No, seriously, that's what I fucking told them, though. You know what I mean? And I'm looking around at all these MCs and shit, and I'm like, Starving Beast here, this there. I'm like, oh, Rock Marciano's doing his shit. Yeah. I just heard Kaz album, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember that shit.
I'm like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Sean Price is at a peak, you know, Mike Tyson.
You say 2012, I feel like that was like 2008 for me.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Just being in the streets of like New York.
Right.
Like,
but see it really come off on recorded wax to see these shows, because those shows weren't happening until the 2010s. You know what I'm saying?
Right, that's when it became.
Yeah, and
the
also
pyramid blew that shit
for
up.
me to call it that, I had to see it happen.
Right.
I had to make sure I was just not just saying some shit. You know what I mean?
Some disillusional shit.
But these books are out. They're out there. My guest is on there. And just a couple of things, commentaries before we get into my incredible guest. My brother, I do a show with my brother DJ Toshi's Classic Storm Radio. Our last episode was about we got to build with beneficence and confidence. You know what I mean? Two guys that are steamrolling through the invisible renaissance. A real success story. Not only do they have a new album, Stellar Mind, out, but they have a beneficence made an incredible memoir called Concrete Soul about how he made a record label during these years and has made a successful record label and coming through the 90s, coming through with the artifacts, greats like that, you know what I mean? It's a very inspiring read, you know what I mean? Whether you love the music or whether you're doing stuff in it, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of jewels in there, you know what I mean? He didn't hold back. An addendum to my last episode, I always like to point people to the last episodes and prior. We had UFO Feeve in the building. It was a great build with the Boricua. A lot of insights. I hope that you got insights about his catalog and his history. And closing out on these little commentaries for you to catch up and see the context. Some remembered imperfection notes. R.I.P. First to Chi Modu, you know what I mean? One of the great photographers, though. He made a lot of stories that were fucking whack look really, really good. You know what I'm saying?
The shit out of some of them images.
The way he took certain pictures, it inspired some of the way some of the writers were going off. He's just a great photographer. You know what I mean? And it was, no matter what anybody says, it was harder to take photographs then. You know why? Artists back then weren't used to interviews. They weren't used to media, and everything was properly the enemy. They weren't so well schooled. I know, and I'm saying this, and I'm saying it because it's not fucking fair. The interview that you do with Pete Rock today isn't the interview that I got in the 90s. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I'm not being a dick. I watched some
interviews. I'm
not being a dick. They just weren't ready for that. They weren't ready for it.
It was fresh off the street, bro.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to hear that.
They weren't ready for that, though. You know what I mean? I had to really learn how to interview people as a conversation because I came in so professional. But Chibodu, what a legacy. You know, what an incredible career. These photographs are still incredible to this day. You know what I mean? They capture life. You know what I mean? They don't just capture a pose. You know what I mean? And because people know me as part of the 5% Nation of Gods and Nerds, because they know me for teaching at the law school in Mecca for the last 21 years, I got to give a remembered imperfection to my big brother, Rashim Allah, one of the real archivists of the nation. If you ever went to parliaments in Mecca, in what we call Manhattan, in the 90s, in the 2000s, into these 2010s, you always saw this brother out back donning the slick hats, always in the back, and he was recording everything. Mm-hmm. He was recording everything. And that was Rashim Allah. And a beautiful person who's, once you spoke to him and you built with him, you showed him your sincerity, he just had a warmth to his voice. You know, people that have a warmth, like you feel like, you know, like, man, yeah, I go to war with this brother because this brother's like, you know.
It's real endearing.
You know, very endearing, you know what I mean? And I'm going to miss him, you know what I mean? I'm going to miss him. Remembered imperfection to those two legends, you know, and as we segue to our guest, I think, and I keep saying this, that one of the things that you have in hip-hop, and we call it Invisible Renaissance, is that the brilliance of the era actually clutters itself up. I call it the Invisible Renaissance because the worst of rap, the worst music you could possibly think of, You know what I mean? Things that, ringtone artists in the 2000s couldn't even dream of making. You know what I mean? Like lousy records they couldn't even dream of making. You know what I mean? Stuff that Daddy Yankee dreamed that he could go to these lows, back with reggaeton lows. You know what I mean? You can do them now. And they cover our music. But when you get deep into studying all this great music, there's also so much quality that you could lose and not really listen correctly. You know what I mean? And that's what I would hope that some of the work that I'm here for is. When I listen to this artist, I just call him an artist, K Burns, right? We could say where he's from. We're going to say where he's from and all that kind of stuff. But there's very few artists that I hear an MC where he doesn't sound exactly where he's from. You know what I mean? A lot of times, and I'll tell him when we start building, I'll tell you where I think you're really from. You know what I'm saying? Where you could be from. You know what I mean? If anything, it could be a lot of places. You know what I mean? It could be a lot of places, but it's because of the diversity. This MC here is a stylist of unique word choice and what I like to call the souled experience. Sometimes we look at the quality of the actual word, the quality of the content, but with K Burns, it's also the quality of the charisma, the thematic character. There's a character that's going on that's being presented, and there's themes and everything. You know what I mean? And he takes you through these themes throughout these records, and they're not just like some put together selections, no matter how numerous they are, no matter how overwhelmed you are when you go to his Bandcamp and kburns.bandcamp, you know what I mean, .com. K Burns, to me, is one of the most unique MCs that I have heard, and it's only to a discerning ear. You know what I mean? And I think it's because throughout the history of our music, not just hip-hop, we have so many soul singers. You know what I mean? If I had to describe K Burns, I'd call him an MC soul singer. You know what I mean? There's a lot of soul in this music. You know what I mean?
It is.
It's sitting right there with the Al Greens and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And as we go along, I think I'll try to put some light to that. And hopefully,
I appreciate that a lot.
K Burns will really add on to that. But K Burns, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot.
Welcome to the Power Right Show. It's a real honor to have you here and build with you.
Likewise.
And both of us felt and agreed that it wasn't good enough for you to be here, through the phone, through anything like that.
Yeah,
so we had to make it. And what I find interesting, and I'll just dig right into this. I try to listen to MCs and go beyond where they're from.
Right.
Because the musical experience of MCs is so profound. You know what I'm saying? But you do capture Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? There's no doubt about that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm just put it right off the head right there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's no doubt about that. But when I listen to so many of your records without just a general ear, I'm like, yo, he really could come from L.A. You know what I'm saying? He really could come from L.A. You have all of the cadences, all of the flow. You don't rush the bars. You know what I mean? In fact, you do a lot of delay on the mic. You know what I'm saying?
I've been fucking around with it lately. I think it's just a level where I'm at with rapping. I can make the beat do what I want it to do.
I mean, that,
like it might do something.
Right.
But I want to make it do something.
I mean, you're saying that, though, but this shit is exceptional stuff.
I appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying? It's exceptional stuff because you're doing stuff where 9 out of 10 quality Brooklyn MCs, because I also make the misnomer that when I do that, I'm not talking about like shit MCs or rappers and stuff or like pop rappers, but 9 out of 10 rappers usually wouldn't do what you do in the pocket. The great Brooklyn MCs, they find the pocket and brothers just fall into the pocket. Like they stumble and they're smooth in the pocket.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the way you're using the pocket, it's got a lot of melody into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all your songs, they almost always have a special type of melody.
Right.
To it. Right. And it's very interesting because when you think of songs in general, I don't know if this has always been the case, but is it catching you, that instrumental, because of the melodies that come out of it, that you feel you could bring to it? Right. Or is it like, I got this particular things to say? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a blank canvas. Like, I look at, for writing, for me, it's a process. I don't know if a lot of artists write. I know you like to go with the freestyle shit, and it's cool, but like for me, the art of like writing is real sacred. So like it was a time when I stopped rapping. When I was like in 11th grade, I ain't go to school. I was just in the streets. And a friend of mine kind of willed me back into it. And I always said from right there, whenever I pick up my pen, it's lights out. You know, so I never, when I first started rapping, I started out writing songs. It wasn't just like writing verses. We was rapping into the speaker and making full songs. You know what I'm saying? So that shit just carried over.
But like when you started rapping, right? Obviously, you know, where you from?
Clinton Hill.
Clinton Hill, right? You know, being out in Brooklyn and stuff,
Right.
rapping is part of the culture. This part of the reality of
But it's
everyone.
not just rap.
You know what I mean?
You know, downtown Brooklyn got a beat. That's Brooklyn Bohemia I grew up in. So we grew up with it was like just a beat to the way of life, you know. And then, you know, I'm gonna assume, I'm not gonna say, but nine times out of 10, in a black household, you grew up to them 70s songs and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up on the stylistics. Like, the greatest band of all time to me is the Jackson 5. But nobody want to look at the Jackson 5 as a band. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they a band. After that, I say it's like Nirvana. So I went from that spectrum all the way to like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a quantum leap in sound, but I'm going through John Bon Jovi. And I remember Lisa on the radio as a kid and all of this stuff.
So when you're rapping, making a song is including that into the spectrum.
The whole body, I look at it like, my inception in hip hop was NWA. So you got to think about that, you know what I'm saying? And think about how big they was in 88. If I'm 2 in 88, NWA is the shit, you know what I'm saying? That's what they play in the house for my mom. You know, she 18 years older than me, but then my grandma come in and she putting all the oldies on. Cleaning up on Saturdays, all the oldies is on. So I grew up on Curtis Mayfield. Like I feel like I'm the Curtis Mayfield of underground. Cause I'm scoring this shit. These ain't albums. I did that already. It's a whole, like I told you, it's a whole catalog that I don't even know exists before I stepped into this arena, you know what I'm saying? So when I came in here, I had a different intention. I came in a well-seasoned artist with a new bag of tricks.
Right. So it's almost what I've been saying. You know, you've A&R'd yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because I always say that the A&R, the idea, artist and repertoire was the person. I'm saying the textbook definition. That's really what
the tradition.
They were supposed to help an artist develop the best of themselves. You know, usually what we really saw of most A&Rs is that they were trying to mold what the label wanted.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But they wanted to make like a carbon copy or something.
Right. Ideally, they were trying to mold, well, what's the best of you? You know what I mean? But because you make so much music on your own, you kind of figure out the way you do stuff.
I mean, I did it for, but the 10,000 hours was there already.
Right.
So it's like, how could somebody come in
So when you're young and you start to rap, it's a hobby, right? Nobody knows what it's gonna be.
It's top secret at first. Like I'm shy, low key. Like I'm shy. So it's like, do I want to rap and make an ass of myself? Is it good enough? So for like a good 6 months, I'm writing every day. Nobody don't know shit. And then one day I just tell my dude, like, y'all rap, you want to hear it? And he's like, let me hear it. Whatever, you rap. You told me last week you rap. I'm like, yeah, you act like you ain't hear me. I rap. And I rap for the nigga. And he was like, hold up, what? Do that again. And it was just like the whole day was just like, do that again, do that again, do that again. That's how I knew. I was like, all right.
Well, let me ask you. Obviously, when you're writing, you're also spending time quietly,
It depends.
prepping the rhymes. Were you practicing?
It depends because, like, I started writing music when I was playing baseball. Like in the thick of my little league baseball career. We lost to Toms River, New Jersey. They go to the regional.
Wow.
And they end up winning the World Series. So when I look at that summer, that's the summer I start fucking. That's the summer I start gangbanging. I shot myself in the hand that summer, all kind of, and I started rapping. You know what I'm saying? So I got all of this shit coming at me.
Yo, that right there, that summer is a whole fucking album right there.
Yo, that's why I got the song. Y'all gonna hear it. Y'all gonna hear it. Y'all gonna hear it. Because it started out in summer 98, but by summer 99, I'm a whole different dude. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, when I go back in time, you know, and I think about like how music was transitioning in the 2000s. But I come from Biggie Hood. I just watched Junior Mafia and blow up and all of that. I'm with Sybil Penix and Jimmy Penix, my boy, what up? I'm watching them in the crib. I met Total. I met Missy Elliott. Like, I seen this shit. And I seen how much work they put in. Like, most people see the final product. I got to look inside the factory. You know what I'm saying? So when I seen that and I seen how much work Missy put behind that pen, I was like, nah, you gotta write. When I seen how much Kima put behind that pen in Total, like, y'all don't know this shit. I seen it firsthand, you know what I'm saying? I seen Biggie get busy and straight to the studio. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So I always kept that. And then, like I said, the music is just like, I love the Jacksons. I love Motown, period, that whole era. The 60s is even better if you ask me. I love the 60s way better than the 70s. You know, as far as music, it just touched my soul more.
Really?
What? Yeah.
No. I'm not saying most people don't always say that.
Yo, my grandma just turned 83, not to put her age out there. And like, she always talk about how Goodfellas is her favorite movie. And I'm like, this is some gangster shit.
Right.
Then I learned what the movie score was. That's her in her childhood.
Right.
That's that shit she grew up on. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, when she watch it, it take her back right to being in Girls High watching a Lenny Wilkins game. You know what I'm saying? Like, she go back like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I learned that music was that powerful. The melodies put a different vibration in you. Like, it's bigger than just being a wordsmith. You know what I'm saying? When you could, look what Max B did, just adding the melodies behind it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that Max would have been as potent. Not saying he not, but with the melodies behind it, you know, he just really, really, really hit everybody with a different tone. And it brought out a different emotion in all of us. So I just keep it like that.
Right.
And I understand that shit.
Now, you know, and I'm trying to like really get into this concept here because when you write a song in general though, right? And just so people could understand, because a lot of people think that one genre, they might understand how, like, let's say if a young kid now listens to Rock Marciano and then how he's informed of like, how could I make a song? And he's informed.
Right.
How does a song of a different genre? Because I'm telling people you're like a soul singer.
I mean, you know
I
what?
could explain it. I could try to
I know
explain
what
it.
you're saying. I'm going to get
I'm saying,
to
how
it.
does the best of the Jackson 5, though, which really is an incredible
That
catalog,
shit come
by
from
the way.
within.
Yeah.
That's not something that you could just, you can't, it's almost like somebody that jump high, right? Take an NBA player. He could not know how to dribble. He could not know how to shoot. He could not have no defense. But this dude got athletic attributes that you just can't teach. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, like Zion, jump out the gym. We could turn him to a point guard. He could play the power forward. What you want to do? You know what I'm saying? If we could teach him how to do everything else and fine tune him, he's gonna be a star. You know what I'm saying? And I come with the emotion first. If I could feel the emotion, I could put that shit to words. Like when I hear music, I see colors off the rip. So I already know if the song not yellow, I'm not getting melodic. It gotta look like your shirt for me. It gotta be mahogany. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then it can't be boxed in. Like
Right.
My homie said some shit that scared me. Like, yo, the shit sound round. I want it to sound more round. It ain't round enough yet. You got it sounding a little too square, and I know what he mean. It's
Right.
It's a feel. Like this shit is just too confined right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So everybody has their own ways of
Right.
of seeing what it looks like, what it looks like, right?
And if I could hum to it, that's it. If I could feel that emotion, and that emotion maybe.
Yeah, because there's a lot of songs in your catalog, right, where I've heard other guys rip those samples,
Right.
and you do something totally left field with it,
Right.
and I know that they would never do that.
That come from the mixtape,
you know,
though.
because usually we would be like, oh man, I don't want to hear this.
Now that come
sample
from
again.
mixtapes.
You know what I mean?
Because like in the mixtape era, like I was the nigga going to get the how to be an MC, and I'm ripping the whole shit.
Right.
Like I'm ripping. I'm every beat getting touched.
Right, and you can't do the
And
same
you can't
thing.
do what T.I. did on his beat.
Right.
You can't do what Fab did. So I think I think the mixtape game missing is why a lot of these dudes is missing artist development. Like I got 15 mixtapes. So if y'all hype about the 10 albums, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it's shit that,
You know, it's a good point you make because as someone who loves albums, you know what I'm saying, and has always cataloged that, the mixtape era diluted a lot of stuff, also kept a lot of great stuff hidden, you know, because artists
it also
couldn't
put a
get
lot of
stuff.
shit forward,
but
too.
it really did that too because it amplifies that jazz element that's already in hip hop as well. Like, you know, you've got to improvise differently on this song. You've got to do your own.
It's all improv.
Right.
It's all improv.
It's the same thing. I just find that intriguing because now, is there ever, when you make music, K Burns, right? Are there because a lot of the LPs and the EPs are very thematic.
Oh, everything.
You know what I mean? Everything
is,
has
like,
its set
theme-based.
theme. We know what it's going. Some are more overt than others.
Right.
Until we listen to it,
And then
we
you get it.
them.
Yeah, you get it.
You know what I mean? Are you hearing certain things where like, yo, I have to get specific types of rhythms or not?
See, for me, I got this shit planned out in my head since I was 12 years old. So I gotta hear the music and I know, like, that's it. Like, for instance, for Beautiful Struggle, right? Me and Ecto I was talking about that title in 2018. Like, I got an idea. I had an idea for a while, and I ran it by him, and I was like, you know, I like to work with this producer and that producer, and we just throwing names in there like, yo, they could make that sound, and right there was my brother right in my face the whole time, you know what I'm saying? And when we started making it, it was about 2 songs. He just sent me some beats, and I recorded some joints, and I was like, I think this is it. And he was like, what you talking about? This is that tape I told you I feel. Like, that's the beat. This is going to get us rolling right there. Keep that vibe, keep that pocket right there. And it's a feel. You cannot make that shit up. You know what I'm saying? So if you feel it, if you writing a song and it's like drawing to me. When I was in art school, my art teacher told me, draw what you see, not what you think you see. So in music, I make what I feel. I don't feel what I think I'm feeling. I know what I'm feeling. And I gotta verbalize that shit. I gotta get it out. I feel like Michael Jackson. I think I'm gonna die and I ain't get all my music out. You know what I'm saying? So I struggle from that fear. So every day I'm hitting it. When I'm on the block chilling with my niggas and we doing what we do, I'm in my phone. I got a beat playing or some shit. And it been like that for me since I was about 12 years. I was a kid with the CD player like that. Going rollerblading, so it's nothing. I think my muscle memory kicks in and all of that shit from years and years and years and years of rigorous writing. Like, I don't deny it. I go off the top and all of that because I've played with words so much. I just pull them shits. It's like A Boogie. That's why I like A Boogie. He pull words out of thin air. I know because I do it. I can identify that shit. You know what I'm saying? So as long as I can feel it, it's going to go.
Right, that stream of conscious idea. I feel like you do that a lot, though, with the rhythms as well.
Right, yeah. It come natural. If I can hum, whatever I hum, going to be the song. I don't know why. It comes out that way. Like,
right.
Like, and that's
right,
it.
because I'm saying soul singer, I'm using these kind of words here. But not every single song is traditionally like chorus, bar, nothing like that.
Nah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
I go
there's
on my
all
way.
different type of cadences, all different type of ideas. I'm going to expose some of these, to the listener as we go along. So some background for everyone that's looking and stuff, and you're too intrigued by us to leave and go look up K Burns just yet. When I say a massive amount of work, when you talk about massive amount of work, when you go to kburns.bandcamp, there are 20 albums there, 20 long players, 8 EPs, 15 EPs and 5 LPs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things that I wanted to start off with, though, really going back, because I want to go forward here. When I was first studying UK Burns, right, I was listening to all the EPs as you released them.
All right.
I was there for all of them.
So that was 2018.
You know what I mean? I was there for all of them. I was like,
appreciate
okay, this is good. But because there's so much work, at 2018, things were multiplying so much. I was like,
2018 was crazy.
I was like, I can't talk about K Burns yet because there's so much other people, there's so much other music.
And I had so much more to offer. You wouldn't
Now,
have did
why were you throwing things out in small EPs? Was there a reason for that?
The attention span of the listener.
Right.
Again, I'm from that mixtape era. So I've done the 25 song tapes for $1. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but in this, when you're doing it though, you're almost foreshadowing because guys weren't obsessively EPing then.
Nah.
You're one of the first to really start doing that.
I'm the second. I'm honestly say I'm the second. Like, I get that shit from Currency because my favorite Currency projects are no longer than 16 minutes. And I'm talking about like, I'm not going to listen to that one Currency project. I'm going from project after project after project. I'm getting hot of this shit, like for real. I'm smoking the whole half an ounce, playing 2K or some shit. Got a bitch in the room. And she don't listen to this shit. Today we listening to Currency. And you know what I'm saying? I'm in my zone. But I noticed that I always went back to listen to the album. And I stopped listening to the Long Fab album or the Long Nas album. You know what I'm saying? I was having more fun in the shower listening to fucking Currency or rolling up with my niggas right quick. We smoke a blunt or two listening to Currency. You know what I'm saying? And those short plays, it just kept me coming back for more.
Does it allow for you to really concentrate ideas though?
Nah, that's not an issue for me.
Okay.
I think for me, the challenge was not making them long ass projects to get my point across. Like it shouldn't take me no 16 songs to sum up this point. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to condense, like with Kilo Dreams, it was 4 tracks.
Right.
So that was something that I already had in my head. Again, but it went from being a whole
You know
album.
what's
to
interesting
something
is that
condensed.
like all the great MCs have different ideas because when I talk to ST, Peace to the God. Now,
Peace to the
now
God. That's
see
my
a lot.
guy. Knack Daddy, what up, man? That's my guy.
When I build him,
Yeah.
he likens it to what I had described as like these like jazz dates.
Yeah.
You know, like when you get all the I love organ jazz among
Right.
many things. You know what I
Right.
mean? Jimmy Smith, I have like almost 400 songs. You know what I mean? Like I have about 40 plus
Die
albums.
hard, bro.
You know what I mean? Yeah, 40 plus albums. But when you read the liner notes, they're all like 2 days.
Right.
2-day sessions, 1 day. You know what I mean? They
Right,
did this in
right.
1 day, and you
I
get like
always
these
admired
5
that,
songs.
too. I admire shit like that.
And it always blows me away that they can make something that quality at just one moment. Like
I mean,
that.
think about it like this. I'm an athlete first. Think about a game-winning shot. It's the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like in seconds. It's not even like a
Right.
take two. You got to go right now. Shit live.
Right. And that recording is that moment.
That's it. That's the moment. If you
But
didn't
all
watch
the
it
other
live,
practice
that's what got you
is
to
the shit that got into that
right
EP.
there.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So you get all these EPs, right? And I saw you say this on Twitter. This was recently,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of people know K Burns on Twitter is one of my more favorite Twitters. You know what I mean? It has more intriguing ideas.
I miss my old account.
You know?
though. I have more old listeners that was from that mixtape era that watched the transition. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I miss those guys because I wonder like, do y'all hear me now? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care about the numbers and stuff. I just wonder about those original
Right, that you
listeners.
kind of lost that cipher when
Right,
the
because
account
it's like
that.
I'm not doing Rolling Loud no more. I'm not on tour with Beanie Siegel no more. So it's like that hood element. So it's good to come back home and like when I'm walking down the block, it's like yo, I seen that shit. It's like
Right. I
ain't lose
feel
touch.
that though. Like right now, your Twitter has like a real like memory lane. Hey,
Yeah, it's like, yo, what's
since
up?
you had
Tapping
moved
in.
out, and now you came back
Yeah,
and stuff, and
yeah,
that
yeah.
vibe and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you had said, and I always wanted to know the reason why you considered Bernieville. We'll start with Bernieville. I want to focus on certain albums. We'll start with Bernieville. Why you said you considered this your magnum opus?
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean? Why?
That sound that you're talking about, and the melodic shit, the lyricism, the concepts, the stories.
Right.
Because a lot of people overlook the stories I'm telling. Also the hit making, because I feel like hit making is missing from underground. Like nobody's making. I think, and I'm not being cocky. I haven't heard nobody that could touch the radio. Not Hot 97 without payola or knowing somebody.
Right.
Like where's that?
Well, you know what's
that hit?
interesting, right? Is that artists don't think that way because they, generally think it's a sellout way.
Not even a sellout way. I come from that. I had a major deal twice. So I had a songwriter's deal. So that fine-tuned the songwriting. I've been around these guys when they wrote Lollipop. I've been around these guys when they wrote Say Ah. I've been around these guys. Just like they took from...
Now to see the good and the bad though, where you did you get levels
honestly,
of disgust or
I was just disgusted that instead of me getting the artist deal, y'all rather be right for the dudes I'm listening to. The dudes I aspire to work with, y'all telling me I gotta write for. And that's where everything switched. Right then and there for me. It was like, nah, all right, cool. Writing is more important. Because why y'all hiring somebody to make him look better? You know what I'm saying? Like if
right.
because I was under the impression like Meek Mill, you gonna write the hook, you gonna write the verse, you gonna and then they bring in some nerd. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is they know how to clean that shit up to make it a hit. So you got a hot song.
Right.
This nigga gonna take that shit to the charts. And I had to really humble down and learn that shit from these dudes. So you hearing that?
It really comes across because
I'm fucking y'all up with that. I ain't even gonna lie.
I've always said that one of the reasons about many, and a lot of it because I'm a journalist, I'm a writer. Obviously, I call this an element because I put my creative
ear to it,
essence into it. These writings are creative writings. There's poetry, there's prose in it, and I couldn't do any of that in magazines though.
It wasn't. It was.
They wouldn't allow.
It was too many.
Yeah, they wouldn't allow it. It was
Right.
very streamlined.
That's why I love this.
A lot of the
this
ideas
Renaissance.
that I had, I couldn't do them.
Right.
And that's why it took me those because I said this was what I'm doing is an element of hip hop in 1995. I have it written down.
Right.
Published.
Documented.
You know what I mean? But I couldn't do it in a magazine where it's for hip hop. But the reason I'm saying that is that a lot of my reasons why I call the 2000s the dark ages has to do with media. But a lot of it has to do with music and artists not being able to graduate into a higher radio play. And It's not selling stuff. This is a career. If we don't get paid at that time, if you don't get on the radio,
how do you get paid?
How do you get a living? You know what I mean? So after like Mos Def, Big Pun, Lauryn Hill, that shit shut down.
I mean, you know,
that shit shut down. There were so many people I couldn't pry into. You know what I'm saying?
They wasn't here no more.
Right.
They put them up in them high fucking buildings. You know what I'm saying?
If you add Fat Beats is making the first great niche, but they're a bubble that is hovering right under it.
Right.
They can't break anything either.
Right.
In there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So what's interesting is that this songwriting ability gets lost. What we're saying here, and that's what I love about a lot of your records, though.
I appreciate that a lot.
They have hooks, they stay in my head, and they don't piss me off. You know what I'm saying? So all week, because, you know, my producer knows when I go into an artist, when I'm interviewed, the reason I know all this stuff is because I've been living with your music.
Right.
It's been bench press, it's been playing, it's been writing things, it's been doing all this stuff with your music. So every 2 minutes, it's Bernie. I'm fucking Bernie. I've been Bernie all week. You know
I appreciate that.
I'm Bernie all week. You know what I mean?
in many spaces, and that's been said in the crowd.
There are so many things. Like, you know, when you say this, what I thought about the Bernieville album, and I was thinking was that if I had to show somebody, like, can this guy prove that he could have all the traditional MC proofs, but also all of the other things that he could do that other people can't do?
Right, that would be that.
Bernieville has that,
and that's exactly what it is. That
would
be the
Bernieville
one definitive.
That, you know what I mean?
That's the definitive one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a big catalog.
If people going, nah, he's not Brooklyn enough, though. I mean, then you got new young G's.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Then you can't say anything. You just did a song, and Eddie Kane is like, he's molded out of concrete of New York City. You know what I mean? Like
Kano, man, listen. Like,
right? He
Kano,
sounds like if you,
he's the epitome of best style.
Yeah, like
when you see Eddie Kane and you hear him, how he carry himself, everything. Yeah. That shit is Gates Avenue all the way.
Right. If you made a liquid drink of
best style, it would be Eddie Kane.
It would harden
But I feel like that about all of us. I think like if it was a drink for Brownsville, that shit would be Rem the Villain. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was a drink for downtown Brooklyn, it gotta be me. Like, you know what I'm saying? If it was an East New York drink, it gotta be Rome. You know what I'm saying? Like, we giving y'all that story, and it's so potent that you could drink that shit and
absolutely,
up,
absolutely. And there's so much great stuff. You know what I mean? And what I was talking about, that sample that I've heard so many times, and it was even used a lot in the last couple of years, was on Reintroduction.
Oh man!
And I was like, wow, everybody used it, but not like that. So for the listener, listen to K Burns' version and then listen to other people's versions. I'm not going to name the other people's versions.
There was a lot of controversy over that because I didn't know these versions existed.
Right,
and a couple of them was made by the same producer. So it's like when I'm making these, I don't listen to nobody. You know what I'm saying? Not to say I don't listen, but when I'm in creative mode, I don't have time to go. I don't want your influences. I got my own style of doing shit. So I'm not listening to what's out there. And I did a beat that another producer sent out, I guess, in a beat pack.
Okay, right.
So that's how that really happened that year.
Right.
And it was like, yo, what the fuck? But at the same time, you know, listen to my version. Listen to theirs and
and I'm like, it doesn't matter to me, you know, because the Bernie version
and no shots at nobody. I'm just very sure
because I wasn't displeased with the other versions. I'm just saying, like,
the one
wow.
or two that I heard was great. And I liked it because I would not have had came at that shit like that.
Right.
And that's what make that I like them shit.
Sometimes that's what I love about hip hop. It always reminds me, like, one of my favorite in I always forget the name of the song. Lou Donaldson. The track where he's got the drum roll that Cypress Hill and also Grand Puba used on his first album. Though.
I know exactly. I mean, as soon as you said
Ode to Billy Joe. Ode to Billy Joe.
Right.
And if you look at it, it seems like everybody found it in '92 for some reason.
But that happens.
Like everybody found it.
But that does happen. I've seen it happen.
And it happens though. It's not people buying it. It's just like, yo, these records come up, and sometimes they just get found.
I was in the studio the day they made the I Get Money beat.
Yeah.
Not gonna say how many, whatever. I had a dream 2 nights before somebody was gonna do that shit, and I don't even fucking make beats. I'm in the studio. This nigga walking like, yo, 50 just called. We got the sample. Doo-doo-doo. And it's fucking raw bass. Like,
that's crazy.
I'm like, I just had a dream about this shit. You know
but people, creative minds are all in the same similar wavelengths, and sometimes they tap in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
especially at night.
There's just great work here, though. Great tracks by Wavy the God. I love everything he does.
I think that project, we just put the perfect team together. Like when I sat down, and a lot of people don't know this, Sean Munoz and Wavy the God was with me every step of the fucking way. Because I just built my studio, so a lot of these songs that you hearing was me learning how to record.
Something that I don't always hear from you that's on this album. That's why I said I see Bernieville as a great primer. Usually, you don't always rhyme at really fast tempos. And you did on the New York G's. That's why I always think of that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I like you at all the tempos. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's very rare that you go that high tempo. You know what I'm saying?
I come from that. So, like, with that, I wanted to just bring something out. Because my hood don't know all this shit going on. I'm walking down the block. It's like, yo, Reef, what up, blah, da, da, da.
Right.
I ain't see you was in Cali, yo. They got an idea, but they don't know that I'm sitting here with you having an interview about what's been going on in the last 5 years.
And, you know, there's so much music you've made, and so much of the music you have is preparation. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that could be frustrating for a lot of artists.
But see, the thing was, with those albums, I was doing them, they was fresh off the pot.
Right.
Like, I never, like, the shit that I'm sitting on right now, I'm so anxious to just I want to just play a little sneak peek, but I can't because I got to discipline myself and release this catalog different from the previous
It reminds
shit.
me of a line you said on Welcome to Bernieville. You said, always sick with it, just had to gain some patience.
Yeah.
You know,
I meant that.
If you don't get the
entendre, it's a double entendre in that one. Yeah, but I really meant
fire
that.
Right there.
When I wrote that one, I was like, whoo. I was like, whoo. Because sometimes I wonder, do they get it? Because I read so much, right? And like, I grew up on Walter Dean Myers. I read every fucking Walter Dean Myers book. So everybody that's watching Monster, that shit is crazy. But
right.
When I'm writing certain things, it's like they not gonna get it. But if you tapped in and you've been tapped in how you've been tapped in, you're gonna get it because it led you right to that line, right to that point.
And the stylings, you know, when we talk about the stylist, I almost have to call you a soul stylist because it's something particular in it. But when you have like the, you know, Gang Money, with that chanting style that you do, you know what I mean? And there's very few lyrics I want to quote.
I get that from Smith & Wesson.
From you know?
I get that shit from Smith & Wesson.
You know, it's so interesting you say that because they're masters.
I mean, nobody do that shit better than I'm telling you, nobody can mix patois and hip-hop like Tech. Tech do that shit perfect.
They do it in tandem and...
It's perfect.
If you see, you know, a lot of people don't say, like, when they say people you have to see live, Smith & Wesson to me is a group you ought to see live.
Yo, I've seen. I remember growing up, and I just was talking about this shit with Mike Powers. Like my block, my grandma's block, where we got that house. Atlantic was right there. So I was there for when they boo Big Pun. I was there for when niggas was chasing that rapper, and he was over there fighting. But my age group, we came to see Smith & Wesson and OGC. We came to see the wild young niggas because they the teenagers with the clothes that we want to wear and all that shit. And when Tech used to go on, man. And he started spitting that shit.
Right.
I'm telling you, I done seen 15-year-olds with their guns in the air for this nigga.
The chanting that you do, you know, the lifestyle of living so mafioso, murder the code, so we took the oath, bro. You know, I'm doing it zero fucking justice here.
Nah, he did it right, though.
But, you know, I know how you said
caught
it,
that shit, though.
But, like, it's just, guys don't do that. And, like, you're doing it at parts of the song where you don't need a chorus.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where you don't need to harmonize in there.
I
you know what I mean?
with it, though.
You know, it sounds funny, but there's a lot of cold crush in your shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It has a lot of that ethos. It has a lot of that. You know, that's why I tell you, like, I was saying, it's like when people make art, I'm just mentioning her name, like when people go, oh, Lauryn Hill doesn't count because she sings a lot of shit. Nah. An MC is master of ceremony. If you could do everything, then you do everything, you know?
I mean, that's how
she
it was
has a voice
to
to sing. So
I mean, what was taught to me was the MC wasn't a rapper. That was the dude just running his mouth, telling y'all what to do. Throw your hands up. That's the breaks.
And keeping you excited, keeping you into it. You know what I mean?
Guiding you through the party.
Right. And the thing is, K Burns, like, you've got a great voice. And it reaches high peaks. It has great inflections.
That shit was something and that's why I write the way I do. Because everywhere I went, they always say, yo, you could be a rapper just because your voice is ill. And that made me think about Jadakiss. Like, Jadakiss is a fucking patented voice.
Right.
But he's saying some shit, too.
Right,
I always felt like if I could fine-tune that skill to actually get a message out, articulate it in a style where you'll buy into it, the voice gonna win you over. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even worry about that. I could go low, high, all kind of shit. Like, it's my voice. That's why I could go drumless. I'm the drum.
Right, yeah. It doesn't even.
I don't need all that extra shit. Like, I like strings.
And it's really interesting because when I hear a K Burns song, I also it's what we're saying. I also want to hear what the chorus is gonna be, what the chant is gonna be. not just the verses.
See, that's the thing though, right? I sucked at that shit. Like you gotta know your weak. Like you have to know yourself. Like you said, I self A&R myself. I knew that was my weakness. How I discovered that? Well, I knew it all along, but it was the elephant in the room when I was at Capitol Records. Like he rap his ass off, make a hook to save his life, right?
Well, how did you fix this? How did you fix this?
I got with the best songwriter, right? He said, yo, I'm tired of them talking about you can't write hooks. He said, come, shout out my boy CJ. He said, yo, come to me. I said, what happened? He said, show me how to rap, and I'm gonna show you how to never ever miss a hook again. And he taught me a trick, and like, I don't miss. Mac P know the trick. If you in Team Fame, I'm gonna teach you the trick. Yo, sign the Team Fame. I'm gonna teach you the trick, so I ain't gotta be all in your videos and all on your songs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But nah, seriously though, you know, it was something that was taught to me, and I was humble enough to take that tutelage. You know what I'm saying? And he might have stroked my ego a little bit, saying, "Well, teach me how to rap." He ain't want to learn how to rap, but that's how he reeled the street nigga in. Cause this is
it was trying to get you to work.
It was to open
show
me up.
you to do it, right?
It was open me up, and it was literally is the same thing. You know, so I've written songs. Like it was a time where I was trying to get to the Don Cannon files. Cause I'm like, if I get that Don Cannon file, I'm gonna do the J. Cole.
Right. And you know,
But
sometimes
had to
the
work.
brilliance of certain MCs also eliminate things that used to be in the music.
Well, I had too much going on before, in my opinion. If you listen to my old shit, it's the sound that you hearing is there. But I had too much to say in too little time.
Oh, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what made me start going back to the EPs, because like I said, I'm naturally condensing it. And then when I write an EP, I'm writing it for the intention of a 7-inch. It's not going over 15 minutes. I'm writing side A, I'm writing side B.
Right, because you know, and that art of making hooks and different chances of, that's something that I think the brilliance of Doom, Remembered Imperfection, Doom, F. Doom, he was so good at rhyming and making certain lines be catchphrasy.
See,
that he didn't need the chorus, and it made other people be like, I'm not gonna do any chorus at all.
Because he took all the rules and threw them shits out. Like what made me go crazy over MF Doom was Vaudeville Villain.
Oh yeah.
Like, cause Doomsday is the shit. But when I heard this dude come at that shit like Victor Vaughn, I said, oh, and then it's all tied into the right characters. Like, oh, this dude's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you hear King Ghidorah after that.
Yeah,
right?
And
it's like, all right, I'm sold. I don't have to listen to another MF album. If you heard them three, you ain't gotta listen to nothing else.
Yeah, a lot of
food to cook. You know what I'm saying? That's the shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was able to take these things, and I'm studying this shit. I'm not just listening with the casual ear. I'm listening to Chino XL. So I can rap fast. I get that shit from Chino. You know what I'm saying? Like, Do or Die. I get all them melodies from just being a kid, joking on my friends. Do you wanna ride? He's singing this in the fucking schoolyard. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I get them vibes. I listen to some trick and get vibes. Like, oh shit. Like,
well, you know what though? It's just like, you know, you're some kind of Terminator learning computer, because
I think a lot of artists, they only listen to the shit that they're trying to make.
Right.
They don't open a palette up.
Well, I'll say this though. I'll say this with all fair. A lot of MCs, they have much wider palettes than what they do. But what I'm saying, and I will argue with you, K. Burns.
No arguments.
It cannot be done by everybody.
Nah, it can't.
Some people can have a diverse palette of what they study, but they can't do all that. You know what I mean? And that's a real gift. You know, it's amazing.
Well, I'm on a different conquest too, because I know you can't be a jack of all trades. And you're not gonna be a master of nothing, right?
Right.
So I acquired all these skill sets, right? And now, as a grown ass man, I've proved to myself I can rap. I'm on a conquest to level that shit up now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what's interesting? So much work now. It makes it even more intriguing to me. The album that never existed, right?
Yeah, right.
Which, if you said it wasn't unreleased material, it's very cohesive.
Right. It's not
With
that
all
it
this
was
material
unreleased
that
music.
you have, why did you put this together? Like, why was it?
So that's all. That was gonna be a lost tapes. That's basically what that is. You know what I'm saying? And that was basically all the music that I had from 2020, from 2018 to 2020, that you might have missed out because it wasn't on a K Burns project. It was on that producer's project, or it was on that label's project, or it was on that Lucy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that's why it's called that album that never existed, because I never set out to make this album. Pardon me. I never set out to write this album, but it was right there in my face the whole time. You know what I'm saying? And that shit got the most organic response out of everything I dropped. That shit like numbers wise, if we talking numbers, the album that never existed shattered everything I ever dropped.
Really?
Like in terms of,
I'm not that surprised.
like
you know what I mean?
monetarily,
I'm not that
like, cause
surprised.
like
Wow.
I don't care about the money. You know what I'm saying? I care about I know what fan want to hear what because I'm not in tune and engaged with my audience. You know what I'm saying?
I think maybe to me, the producers, the diverse producers,
Right.
hearing you on those producers and stuff, then, you know, the guest appearances, you know what I mean? The No Comp song literally could have been...
No Comp been making noise since...
That's a Caminante song, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, honestly,
right? Yeah.
Y'all want to know, like, I was supposed to be on that tape. Like, I had to opt out because I know I was leaving. You know what I'm saying? But that's why the song that you got with us, that was the building block. Now, when you get Bravado, you're going to hear the songs that came off of that I took with me. And you're going to see how it ties in.
Okay.
So I'm really like that tape is on repeat. Don't get it twisted, because I was supposed to be on that shit. So I'm listening to like, yo, these niggas killed this shit. And then I'm going too.
Right.
So they making the rest of it, and I'm seeing the videos come about. And I'm going, I'm going through COVID. I'm having kid withdrawals, family withdrawals. I'm missing underground Twitter. I don't want to be on there and talk to y'all, right? Because I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm in the fucking woods hiding, just literally hiding myself from the world because I knew what was next to come. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed. And there's so much diversity. Like Bernie Wright's son, the slow flow is West Coast ideal.
Right.
If somebody heard that, they would think you was on some MCH shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I grew up on all of that shit. Like, I'm 34 years old. So my dad died when I was 5. Hip hop has been my father ever since. Like, when I'm going through these things, right? And I'm listening to these songs that get me through these moments. I don't have a male figure there to tell me I'm gonna get better. So when Tupac say, it's been so many years, I shed so many tears, and I'm 8 years old and I fucking feel like that already.
Right.
I love him to death. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's why that's one of the reasons I say West Coast, because so many of West Coast MCs that were great, like MC8, Tupac, they were better at putting their soul into the record.
But that's what they do out there.
You know what I mean?
You gotta look at the demographic of the West Coast person. They militant. That's home of the Black Panthers. They ain't taking no shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, New York got our Vaughn. We make the shit look good. We a city of bright lights. Chicago gonna run that shit up. That's Bang City. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, all of that shit come into play. And it permeates through the music. You can't tell me it don't. Like, Ecto is probably my favorite producer because he embodies that Motown sound. Now, look, Ecto's from South Bend, Indiana. That's not a coincidence. The songs that I'm listening to, he know those, and then he know the B-sides too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows some shit that I don't know. He like, are you like that? Why should I pull out now? You know what I'm saying? So, like, that, it's a beautiful thing. And I really feel like where you come from, when you really embody where you come from, and you really of that shit, you got a beat playing in you. You got a song in you. It's there. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to come out.
Absolutely.
Right.
Let's go into another album. Right? And this is something I always like to ask people. I ask all the MCs, I don't care what they did. If they talk about it, I ask about it. Pimp God. Right? In my works,
Right.
when I cover artists, though, I'm very particular.
That's a funny album.
A lot of, and I'll say to listeners, in the works that I have, though, the artist, people ask, like, what's real, what's not? How do you decide what's real, what's not? I can't be a journalist, though, and go out in the field and see if everybody's real. You know what I'm saying?
That's a bit much.
If I could do it for New York, I still couldn't do it for Detroit. I still couldn't do it for all of these other places and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So all I could do is ask the artists, though, about their intentions of what they're sharing in the music, right? And the thing is, right, some of the most insightful things that are going on about the struggle are in K. Burns' music.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean?
Because
the feelings of the struggle, the hells of the struggle, but then also the character and the presentation of some of the worst exploitation is in it too. You know what I mean? The drug dealing,
the gang
and the pimp, right? The pimp reality and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So when you did Pimp God and stuff like that, what is this reality?
I mean, honestly,
You know what I'm saying? Because we, as listeners, we come to accept so much of the drug dealing reality because it's something like it's a product. I sell it. They wanted it.
I think it's
You know what I mean?
it's a dime a dozen now, though.
When we look at the pimp reality, we're looking at someone that had to be turned into a product. It's so much different.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And the exploitation level becomes extreme.
Right.
And then, and then like on the title track, you said mind of a gangster, thoughts of a Mac.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What is this mentality here? You know what I'm saying? Because in your work too, you have like ideas about relationships with real women.
No, this is Pimp God is really some
what I'm
shit
saying?
that
Like-
I was going through. Like I've never Pimp God was so personal. You know what I'm saying? Because I was going through some shit with my kid's mom. Like we done been broke up, but shit start coming out after the breakup. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gone while I'm finding all this shit out. And it just made me want to get back on some real fly pimp. Like, hold up, bitch, you forgot who I am? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not to diss her or throw nothing at her. It was more so a way for me to release that shit.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like these albums to me, I'm talking to you. I'm not really rapping to you. I'm giving it to you in the form of music, but it's a message in it. If I can come out of these situations and you like what you see right now, and you like that, that's that from then, and this is now. If I can do it, so could you. You know what I'm saying? But Pimp God in particular, let's be very clear, The Mac is my favorite movie. I've been watching that shit.
Oh, yeah. No,
That shit was 100%
any fan of K Burns is gonna know that.
All right, so cool.
Yeah.
Pimp
Because
God
the way
is the
that
follow-up.
you use the
Right, Goldie's
Mac.
my guy.
Yeah.
Goldie's my guy. If
Yeah.
y'all gonna cast that movie, I will take these braids out and throw that shit in the afro so quick for this dude. That's my
Right,
guy.
right.
But what
Yeah.
it is that I had to follow Ballad of Goldie up. I never had a reason to. Never
Until
felt
then.
the reason to until some real life shit hit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like when you get the interlude, like I think the interlude is like, listen to the interlude.
right. Well, you said fucked up. I had to put it in songs. Still,
Yeah.
baby, life goes
Like
on.
it
You know
goes
what I
on.
mean? Yeah.
Like, and me and her knew this was coming.
Right.
This is not some shit that
And there's some expert stuff here, like Clockwork.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sequence in there. I think it's in the last verse where it just starts off. And I can't even perform it.
Right.
Where you tell that jawbone.
Right,
And
right.
the layering.
Yeah.
The MC layering in there.
It's
in
a
that,
segue to it.
those lines
Yeah.
are impeccable.
I appreciate
You know what I'm saying?
it. I appreciate it.
If you want to hear just the layering and the verbal dexterity, it's all in there.
But see, with that project, just like with Juanita, that's the one that's not on Bandcamp. You gotta know how to embody. You gotta step out of yourself and become that person. You know what I'm saying? And not that I'm stepping out of myself. That's a great portion of who I am. Like I've sat there and studied this nigga Goldie. Like study how he make his faces and bitch move. Like all that shit come off. You know what I'm saying? And, but you gotta remember, right? Goldie started off as a gangster. But he going to jail for selling dope. He running from the cops.
Right.
Him
And that
Richard
was
Pryor.
the switch. That was the new
And
thing he's
I'm not
yeah.
doing this shit no more. like I can't keep hurting my mom going to jail for that. The ironic part, that she got his mom's killed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. That was the tragedy, yeah.
so it's like, I look at that. And I'm just now finding out, maybe 7 months ago, this nigga wrote that shit. Like, wow. Max Julian wrote that movie.
Yeah, there's so many.
Like,
yeah,
that just made me
there's
want
so many layers.
Part
you know
two
what I mean?
coming just because of that. Just because of that. I got to do part two now. But it again, that emotion. I couldn't make that shit up. You can't tell somebody, I need a song about heartbreak.
Right. I mean, songs like "Roll My Spliffs" and stuff. I mean, these are real.
This is how
these
I
are
deal with
real-time
chicks.
songs,
Like,
you know
I'm
what I
not
mean?
being funny. Like, yo, here, take the weed,
this-
roll that up. You know what I'm saying?
It's the shell of it is like like the G-Rap Pimp album. You know when he did
Right,
his.
right.
But when you listen to it deeply,
It's emotional.
it's has a more Marvin Gaye "Hear My Dear" album.
Think about this.
You know what I'm saying?
Right? Think about this. Niggas act like gangsters don't cry, right? You can't tell me pimps don't love. That nigga done you lost your bottom bitch, you sick. He's sick. He got, but at the same time, right? You a gentleman of leisure, right? You gotta hold it down.
Right.
You know, you gotta hold that shit down. So I needed that project. That wasn't even for y'all. That was more so for me. And then my daughter found it hilarious. Like my oldest daughter, right? So that's when I threw a shot. I'm like, yeah, I got a new album. She's like, you got a new album? I'm like, yeah, you got your iPhone on you? Like, go to iTunes. What's on iTunes? She look it up. Pimp God, Daddy, what is this? So it was cool. And I made the cover. Robert Beck is my guy. It was just the embodiment of that. Because I didn't want to put Goldie on it. I did that already.
Right.
So I knew If I throw Robert Beck on there, you're not gonna never think that could have been Ballad of Goldie too. Pimp God though. And I got the title. Shout out to Smith Jr. You know, back to that underground Twitter. You know what I'm saying? That underground Instagram.
Right.
From Ballad of Goldie, he always called me that. Yo, Pimp God, what up? Yo, Pimp God, what up? And I told him, I'm gonna make that up. When I drop that project, that's for you. Like, that's for you. You know what I'm saying?
Dope, that's dope.
So like, I love it.
Let's shift off to talk a little bit about my favorite, K Burns' work is Beautiful Struggle. You know what I mean? It's something I wrote about in my Real 2020 book.
That's my favorite.
You know what I mean?
K Burns project.
I love what Ecto did on that. I love his sample game. You know what I mean? I'm a sucker for the soul sample, but then he's got soul samples. He uses them the right way, and you know what? He adds to the groove. A lot of people only know how to add to the soul sample's groove by adding the drum to it, and if they leave it drumless, it's just the soul sample.
Nah.
He's doing something that's adding to the groove of the soul sample.
You know what it
that
is?
is not just drum oriented. It really gives you
This dude
this
gets
aura
in that box.
that's around you
This
when you're
dude
rhyming.
gets in the box. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, like it gotta be something in that Midwest water because the same shit happened with Ed Glorious. I'm working with Onaje Jordan. He's from Chicago. It's something that they got with it's like us with East Coast rap. We embody hip hop different than everywhere else, being city guys. Not taking it away from nobody else. They play with them Motown samples different. They play with them shits different. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care. But, they don't gotta go digging for the records because their mothers already got them in the crib.
Right. They have a different life with those records.
Like, think about this. My bro don't have to go to a record store and dig. His dad got a room this big full of fucking crates. He the youngest of like 5 brothers, and he's like my age. So his brothers is all in their 40s and 50s. This dude come from that cloth.
So he's got
It's all in
his
him.
crates is just
It's all in him.
it's just highlighting the listener some of these things here. The Enterprise, before the Rona had to cover my nose, the block stench is YOLO. And there's so much cleverness in this beautiful struggle. There's a deadpan flow, but a lot of people can't do the deadpan flow.
That was the first beat I ever chose from Ecto.
That's crazy because
That's the beat that got him signed to
And I'm just
Team
noting this
Fame.
for listener. A lot of people can't do the deadpan flow, right? Because it kind of lays down a lot of techniques. It puts dormant a lot of techniques you have, and you keep that high pitch.
That's
the
when you gotta know
inflection.
when to use that shit.
A lot of people can't do that.
But see, you
It
can't
usually
come on the
becomes
beat
a
like,
deadpan.
Yeah, you can't
like,
be the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Right.
The beat already doing that.
Right.
Jazz that shit up. You know what I'm saying? And I hate overproduced beats. So when a beat is minimalistic, I'm able to be,
Right.
I could be the crazy Bernie on the block. Like, I could be Busta Rhymes in my head. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the thing with that tape is that every song had to be a beautiful struggle. We didn't want the song to be beautiful. We didn't want it to be depressing. Because at the end of the song, you had to feel uplifted. There's nothing depressing about this album. None of that music I put out in 2020 is depressing. No matter how depressing it was, it just...
Very true.
We did not need no depressing music in your ear 2020. And I was not going to be somebody that partake in that side of life.
I mean, some of these songs, they reach peaks. Teflon Don, you know what I mean? The horns in there are just amazing.
I mean, Ecto chose the perfect soundscape, and like we really, that's an in-house project, so it's different. It's a different nurturing that I'm gonna give it naturally, whether I want to or not. I really see that every time me and Ecto make a song, whatever song that Ecto got on the album, if I was on a major label, I know for a fact.
Well,
that's where the
it's
marketing
something.
dollars
You know,
going.
like the whole Max Julian vibe, the whole things. There's a lot of ideas in your personal mantras that are reflected in those things too.
Right.
This idea of always studying things a little deeper, spending more time to do the knowledge. I know it sounds simple, but a lot of people don't have that as a recurring theme in their music. And it's always in your music, you know, like Broken Windows, you know what I mean? I mean, that whole song is about the
That
quality
video, we got a video for that
of
coming.
the observation of things. You know
Right,
what I mean?
and in that video, that's exactly what you get. See, a lot of my music, like the 2 songs that you said was Beautiful Struggle and that, right? So, Beautiful Struggle, I always tell Ecto, this beat remind me of walking from Brighton Beach all the way to the goddamn Ferris wheel to Coney Island. Just walking down the boardwalk, and it's getting bigger as I get there. Because it's dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Right.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And I just picture that fucking Ferris wheel going, oh, the Wonder Wheel just going. I'm getting closer, you know what I'm saying? And the same with Broken Windows. when I hear that, I just saw everything that went wrong in my hood. But at the same time, I know the part I played in that shit. Like that might have been the one song where I dropped guilt. It's like, you know what I'm saying? They say my name every time when you bring up the hood, a big blood around these parts like I'm Suge. I'm like, that's me. Skinniest nigga in the hood, but around I'm the big blood. Like everybody know that. Like not on some cocky shit. Like I done been there for these guys.
Right.
Like these guys do biz. I'm writing these guys. I'm like, you could be older than I'm gonna hold you down. So when the big homie come home, that's the big homie right there. He being funny, but it's because I stepped up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm able to, and that song just hit me. Like it was just right there for that.
Just a great song. There's so many techniques here. You kind of do this thing where I like to call it like Weight of the World. I like to call it like a breathless groove talk. You know what I mean? Because there's something that you do where you know, a lot of times it's very rare to hear a breathless flow that's using pauses.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And using spacing.
I don't like that.
And yet it's still kind of breathless.
I'm being a dickhead when I do that. I'm being the ultimate dickhead. Like I'm slapping the industry in the face because I know what exec told me what. I know what arguments we had. Like I know how I was like, nah, that artist, that's not 16 bars. He let that whole bar breathe. I hate that shit. But when I do it in a way where I throw ad-libs. I do something with it. Or the beat drops perfect. I don't just do that because I saw Rick Ross.
Right, because it's like there's no wasted space.
Right.
But even
No, there's no wasted thought. It's still wasted space. But
because the silence is being used.
Silence is sound.
Right.
And you gotta know when to manipulate
that old
shit.
Miles Davis, thing, the silence. How
it's
you use
crazy.
the
That's where I
silence,
get that shit from.
Right.
That's who I get it from.
Because Miles Davis, like a lot of people listen to the way that horn comes in on the ballad.
I listen for the drop.
But it's
the drop right before.
Right before, right?
It's like what they said about I was watching a documentary about Jimi Hendrix. And I didn't know. No, Bootsy Collins. And it was like he was in the band with James Brown. And Bootsy used to fuck shit up on purpose. Like, yo, I said play it on the 1. Your ass played it on the 2. You're out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's how he became a solo artist.
Right.
But think about them James Brown songs where Bootsy was on it. And when they put Jimi Hendrix, when Jimi Hendrix came in, he wasn't fucking that shit up. Because I ain't going to be here long. I got to get that right. Bootsy, man, fuck that. Drop that on the 2. But I noticed how he was able to manipulate sound.
Right.
Because those songs made James Brown come at it different, live on stage.
Right.
You can't go back. I'm going to curse you out backstage. But you just put a whole nother side of me out, dropping it on the 2 instead of on the 1. So that's where I get that from.
It's exactly it. It just works great. You know what I mean?
And it's numerical too. It's numerical. I understand that shit.
Right.
Like, my bro can't count bars. That's what he said when I met her. I said, don't worry about that. That's the least of my concern. I'll tell you exactly when to stop. That's it. 16 right there. So I know the patterns and like how you said the different cadences.
Right.
They not cadences to me. To you as the listener, they cadences. Right. For me, these is formulas. These is mathematical fucking equations in my head. I want to see if I can rap on a 5-bar count. Like Kilo Dreams, that's a 7-bar count. That's why you get that pause at the 8-bar. You know what I'm saying? But I'm being a dickhead.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I understand this shit, and I took music history.
Right.
So I'm listening. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't trying to be Mozart.
Right.
But I think it was real interesting to introduce me to Mozart. So when I read Mastery and I see Mozart became Mozart by being a dickhead. His sister was so bad at fucking playing the piano. Right. Move, I got it. And he became a prodigy.
And it works, though. Let's end this here with the most recent one.
Yeah.
The grandeur of a gangster. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everything's so thematic. Everything's so intense, intended. Why that title then? Grandeur of a Gangster. Everybody's always talking about the highlighting the hells of it.
Right.
The story, the moral of the story.
I did that so much. And I felt like I never gave people a lighter side of me. Like, see, with Beautiful Struggle, I rapped mature. That's what you like about it. I wasn't saying nigga, bitch, ho, ho. Took all that out. You know what I'm saying? I'm 34 years. I'm 33 at this time. Jesus died at 33. How would Jesus talk? You know what I'm saying? He gonna come at you with a different. So that's what it was. With Grandeur of a Gangster, I just was able to really think about the good times of the wild shit. You know what I'm saying? And celebrate that shit. Because, like I said, gangsters have fun, too.
Right, because in a lot of your works, and definitely on this project, though, it's almost like a question well, what is luxury? What would be luxury for us? You know what I mean?
Like, that's why I got Good Die Young.
Right.
Because, Biggie died young. But he had a luxurious fucking life. That last 5 years of this dude's life.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
A substitute for anything,
Right,
you know what
right.
I'm saying? Being the number one rapper in the world, you know? And it's just like things that, I think the things that we celebrate as black men coming from the inner city, a bottle of Henny go a long way. That's why I'm sitting there with the big 60. I don't even drink, but that day I was in Florida. That's the day I got out the hospital from the COVID shit, right? And my godbrother took that picture being funny. I'm like, yo, give me all the change. Hey, we all got Cubans. That's what we do down there. Hey, like, give me change. And I took that. He took a picture. Man, that picture dope. And I never thought it would turn to artwork. But when I was making Grand of a Gangster, I wanted to. A.A. Rashid told me I don't put myself on covers enough because I don't want you to see me. You know what I'm saying? Focus on the music. But
that's true, though.
I thought about the music, and I'm like, yo, if I had one thing to symbolize this shit, what would I do? And it had to be that bottle of Henny. Because what do we drink in Brooklyn, bro? What's a good Friday in Brooklyn after payday? You and your niggas, plastic cups, some fucking Henny. You know what I'm saying? And it was just beautiful how it came about. Shout out to my bro Denzel Devon. I met him through Jamonte. Because I was living I was in Charlotte with these dudes. And I met Mike Diggy. I met Jamonte. I met Phils. I met the whole crew. I've been to the space station a few times. And the energy that they got in there is just dope. And when I met Denzel Devon, the way that he introduced himself to me, it was very clear to me that he was in tune with my music. And he was like, yo, I want to send you some beats. And I was like, like I tell everybody, you want to send me some beats, don't send me a Lucy. Send me a body of work. Send me an EP. Send me an LP. We never know what we're going to make. And he sent me about an EP worth of beats. And it just felt like Grand of a Gangster. I said, this is just some grandiose. It's just grandiose. I just kept being in the studio laughing, like, grandiose. My uncle, like, what are you, playing a game, bro? Like, nah, don't worry about that.
So, there's so many organic connections you make with producers, and then they become these thematic works that you say, oh, I'll make this work with that. So it still, to me, has a very heavy jazz feel to it. You know what I mean?
All of this shit is because of Dirty Diggs. It's because of Gold Chain music. It's because of Planet Asia, and it's because of Dirty Diggs, man. Like,
tell me why, because that's where I was gonna get to.
When I set out for this underground journey, right? Because it's like I said, I had a whole mixtape career. I done had record deals. When I left my executive production situation with that major, I said I'm going DIY. Now I've had Bandcamp since 2010 and never touched that shit because I did not know exactly how I wanted to attack it. You know what I'm saying? But I came up with a game plan and we was gonna stick to it. Me and my bro Fetty actually went back. And I say, yo, you know what we gonna do? We gonna do the Gucci Man. I'm not mixing shit down. We gonna put it out raw, and I wanna see what the people say, you know what I'm saying? And I'm telling them, like, yo, eventually, we gonna try to get Planet Asia and Dirty Diggs to do a tape with us. You know what I'm saying? And look at where we at right now. Like, I'm really Gold Chain music. I really got a whole production situation with fucking Dirty Diggs. Planet Asia is not my friend. That's my big brother. Like, you know what I'm saying? God's blessing me in so many ways.
Indeed, peace to the God.
Peace to the gods. And I still got Team Fame Music Group running how I want. It's a blessing.
It's so important because I call, in my Reel of 2020 book, I put him in the category of a movement cornerstone, one of the movement cornerstones.
He is the cornerstone.
And he's really important to so much stuff. Not just with the way his music checks everyone else and say, you got to do it to this level of excellence.
Yes.
Especially for those that came out, because he's, I always call him, he's a Dark Ages legend. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He came out of
the dark cloud,
an era that he's not supposed to survive through.
Him, Razkaz, and MF, they was not supposed to survive.
Yeah, they're not supposed to survive the era with the skill that they have and all that. And to dominate in this era is just crazy. And to continue to be at the top, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but also the way he has his hand in aiding everyone,
You know
and
what
that was like,
he is a beacon of light. Some people, me and him talked about this shit, and I was like, yo, you're a vortex. You're a fucking vortex, bro, because it's but he understands that, and I see other artists of his stature. You can't get next to them in the capacity. I tell PA sometimes, yo, I gotta keep my cannon around us, bro, because I don't want niggas too close to the people. And he wants to be right there with the people. It's like, no, this is what I'm here for. This is why I'm right with you. He took me to Lamar Park when I was in LA. And I always tell everybody, I challenge any rapper to a day in the life on your block. I'll pop up randomly with a camera, and I want to see how the people around your way react to you. You know what I'm saying? I challenge anybody in the underground to that. When I went to Lamar Park with Planet Asia, it wasn't a vendor, a store, or a person in there that did not champion this dude for being the artist that he is through them dark ages. You know what I'm saying? And I would love to be just like that. You know what I'm saying? Fuck the glitz and the glamour.
Right.
That shit right there. When he walks in that, when he steps his foot in Lamar Park, he's a fucking rap god. But he's still playing in Asia. They're not calling him Planet Asia. It's, hey, nephew, hey, cuz, hey, blood, hey. And it's just like, and it's all love right there. That shit reminded me of downtown Brooklyn in that one block.
Wow, that's peace.
Ever go to LA, go to fucking Lamar Park
Peace
on the
to
Sunday.
God power.
I'm
Yeah,
telling
indeed,
you.
man.
Lamar Park on the Sunday. Shout out to my guy Montage.
It's so good because I love, I said there's so much that, there's so much stylistics you have that I see you on West Coast type stuff.
But all my homies
and
told me
Dirty
that.
Diggs is they have crates. Oh man, they have unbelievable crates. They be releasing instrumentals that have crates that people wish they had.
Yo, I was blessed this time to work on our tape from scratch. And I'm getting the dig. And like, yo, see what you get. Let me see what you get out of this.
Yeah,
and he make magic. Like,
there's very few artists that are as well named as Dirty Diggs. You know what I mean?
With Diggs, they deserve that name.
Yeah, it's just
like I've
crazy.
I've been around these dudes. Like it's one because I'm looking from the outside in as a fan.
Hey,
but that first time there, it was just like we see everything the same way. Like fuck the constraints, fuck the rules. This is what we doing. This is how we do it, and they gonna take it. Cause you got to take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the gangway. You know.
That's definitely peace.
For real.
I highlighted these records, right? Out of the 20 records that are now available on the kburns.bandcamp.
All right. There's more to come.
And obviously more to come with the Dirty Diggs, other words.
It's coming by way of .com. Everybody look out for kburns.world. That's what we're going with.
That's what it is.
Be global. That was the whole plan.
K Burns, there were so many insights that you have on these records. There's so much, it can't be covered in one, but my goal was to show people how deep you are. I saw a pitiful review of one of your works, and they just said you were run of the mill and kind of cliche. And it showed me that they didn't really listen at all. They didn't hear anything.
I know what review you're talking about.
And some people, when you listen to things superficially, we've been listening to recorded Black and brown men on record for the last 30 plus years. You know what I mean?
But who's been judging it?
Everything can be cliche if you look at it on the surface.
But I mean, it's cliche when you're not a black or a brown man.
You know what I'm saying?
We gotta call a spade a spade.
And that's what it is.
You can't police us.
And that's what it is. You know what I mean? But even our own people could come to not appreciate things because we've heard so much and we look at things superficially. You know what I mean?
I think it is not to even go off, right?
Please.
Too much media induced bullshit.
I agree.
Where I'm from, it's a bunch of rappers. Shout out to Jay Critch. Shout out to everybody. Mike Suave, Jew Bang. Who else? All of my young boys, the Twins, Payne, all of y'all. I love Sky Gliz, all of y'all. They all going hard, right? Critch get a little bit more airplay by somebody that he won't know because he made it. There's nothing to take away from him. That's something that the listeners and the viewers got to look at within self. If I only am good to you in an NBA uniform, don't come watch me play at the park. Because that's where the free game is at. Save your money and go fucking support the NBA. That's how I feel about it. So like when I see what Kwame Brown is doing right now, knocking the establishment down.
Right.
It's real talk.
No, I see what you're saying though, because that metaphor relates to this.
But it's across life. Look, I wear Jordans because that shit was marketed to me. Now, them ugly big fucking sole sneakers that the kids wear today, those were the tabletop rejects when I was a kid. My daughter's, that shit getting marketed different to my daughter. My daughter want to pair them ugly shits. I'm like, no. She's like, yes. I'm like, no. And so I understand that.
Right.
I learned from the weekend. I asked my boy, I got a friend that's he's a big gangster. Motherfucker listen to the weekend, word for word. And I said, why? He said, yo, I like this dude because when Drake tweeted about him, he took the leisure to say, y'all wasn't listening to me right. I'm re-releasing everything now. So he understood that who presents something to you, that's how you're going to take it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I make music for the discoverer, though. So I don't care about your reviews. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate your reviews.
Indeed.
But I don't care about your reviews.
And
you know
I
what
love
I'm
that
saying?
you say that. I've seen you say that. And that's how I write. I write for the discoverers. You know what I mean?
For the discoverer.
Right. And that's why I call it this invisible renaissance.
But see,
you know
that's
what I mean?
why I think that your shit is an encyclopedia. Because I think about like remember how back in the day they used to have the sports shit for Sport Newsweek when they come with the top 100 list.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That shit got niggas in college. Believe it or not. If you was the number one kid in that book, you was number one on ESPN.com, you was number one in Rivals, and that book, a coach didn't have to come see you.
Right.
He trusted that encyclopedia, that whatever they wrote, that's what's going to come in that gym in August. You know what I'm saying? And I really see your publication going like that.
Oh, that's peace, man.
Like, I really think you could, like, if I had to help you, and this artist you might have missed. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been the big brother for all the artists coming behind me because I know the ones before me was dickheads to me. You know what I mean? The artists I reached out to get a verse, and it's like, nah. But then when they meet me in person, right, and they come to Brooklyn, they come to my city, and they see who I am, it's like, nah, I don't want to be cool now. So that's why you don't see me with a lot of artists. Why?
Right.
Because I came into this shit humble. I had a deal, bro. How could y'all niggas turn me down? You know what I'm saying? I've been on Sway in the morning. I just came off tour. But I still threw that to the side. I respected their lyricism. I respected their grind. Because a lot of them don't really do it for me. But I respect good business. I respect intellectual properties. This is all the stuff I learned along the way. So I don't look down on nobody. I don't see a screen name. I see a human being. Like soon as we was going to have this interview regardless because you reached out. You, like you said, you well-versed in the K. Burns University. I'm like, shit, that might be a tape. You know, but at the same time, I appreciate that shit. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate Mike Powers coming reaching out. I appreciate P80 writing about us. I appreciate all of that shit because it was a time where nobody was listening to this shit.
That is definitely peace, you know, and the catalog is impressive.
I'm trying to have the most tapes in your encyclopedia. When it's all said and done,
oh man, it's gonna be.
It's gonna be a little kid somewhere in
absolutely
2,200, right? And he's gonna find that book.
Well, you know that's one of the joys of doing this.
That's
you
why
know what
I
mean?
do this shit.
And you know what? K. Burns' music is out now. He's making incredible music. He is in a prime now. I would say he's.
I'm in the second childhood.
Yeah,
I ain't even gonna. I'm having
ridiculous
fun.
Prime. Go venture out, support K. Burns. Do the knowledge. Just a real pleasure to have you here. Your music thoughts are insightful.
Anytime,
you know what I mean?
man. And we just scratched
amazing.
the surface.
Oh, absolutely. You know what I mean? But until next time, there'll be a lot more stories to tell, writings to recite, and records to rewind and reminisce. I'm your host, Sunni Zala, a.k.a. Skilla Straight Low, and for my guest, K. Burns.
Team Fame Gang.
All right.
Which I want to hear one time. Fire!
And as always, the Power Right Show is a never respect fake broadcast. Peace.
Peace. I appreciate that. My girl calling me too.